Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm very, very excited for this evening, for this afternoon. And then I'm so thankful that God has given me the opportunity to be here for 3 days with you. Before I begin, I just would like to thank CLF for putting this together and also allowing me to come and talk about youth ministry development. I'm very thankful for also the translators who have spent these past 3 days with me. I'm very thankful for everybody who's here. Um, so I see that there's a couple of people with your cameras off. If you could just turn on your cameras. If not, it's okay too. Just be able to respond in the chat box and we can really have a good time. So I'm very thankful that I have this opportunity, and I would like to begin with discussing youth ministry. So these past couple of days, I've been talking about, first and worked in my life and what that looked like for me. And I've kind of felt like because I, you know, received salvation in 2011, that's when I first really started to have a real relationship with God as a young adult. I was still in college, and then at that is when I also started working for the youth, for working for young adults, and so young adult working for young adults, right? And now I'm still not married. I'm, 30 something years old. So I'm still out, right? And I really enjoy doing what I do. So I actually am originally from Detroit. I moved to New York in 2013, specifically for youth ministry through and these sorts of things. And so God has really afforded me a great opportunity. And recently I became the president of the Christian Youth Association, SIA. You can see our logo in the corner on my screen. And what we are a group of young people, Christians, and we come together and encourage each other and help to reignite that love and that passion of God inside of our hearts. So very thankful about that. Without further ado, I would like to kind of get into the topics that I've been discussing these past couple of days. And I would just do a little review of the topics that I discussed previously, and then kind of get into my final topic. So I hope that you all will bear with me, and please let's go on this journey together. Um, how have been going to church since you were younger? Like since you were a kid? Raise your hand. Yeah. Yeah. And how many people are really involved in church? Like maybe you sang in the choir, or you danced, or you did some acting before, or you did some volunteer work in the church. Raise your hand if you've ever like did any work inside the church when you were younger. Yeah, me too. I remember when I was in church, I wanted to join the church choir, but I wasn't really good at singing. And like I remember I sang like in the black church, my church, like if you want to sing, the pastor be like, okay, let them come up and sing then. And then so like I remember getting up and I went to go sing, and I sang with the mic, and I was singing loud with all my heart. And then I sat down and I felt so good like after singing that song. And then my grandma leaned over to me and she was like, sorry, baby, you can't sing. that just crushed my little heart. And then like I have like my brother and my cousins, we all go to the same church. We were all sitting in the pew together. And then they all just bust out laughing, just like, grandma said you can't sing. But anyway, even though I couldn't sing, I was, definitely involved in church, and it was something I was really passionate about. And going to church, you start to feel this sense of, like the church is a place where you good, obviously. It's a place where you have to show your best side. And you know, you good, right? But that's why you go to church. You go to church to feel better, right? To like get, you know, at least that's what I used to think is what I'm saying. I went to church to just feel better. Like, oh yeah, I feel closer to God at church. And then like the pastor put the oil on our forehead, we raise our hands, and then we start crying because we start thinking about all the like terrible stuff that we did and how unworthy we are to be standing in the presence of God, you know? So then I kind of grew up with that mindset of like thinking, you know, always like I have to be better. I have to be good. And so even though I try to be good in front of God, it wasn't working. It didn't work. And that was the most frustrating thing. Like it was so frustrating. And I talked about this past these past couple of times, but for those of you who are listening for the first time, I just want to give a little recap, right? So when I was in college, you know, that was the time when I was like the furthest away from God, like so far, like far, 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 right? And it was just so far. And then at that time was the time where, by the grace of God, I was able to learn and remember about God. I was able to remember God and then learn really about Jesus Christ and what he done for me at the cross. And so as a kid, even though I wanted to be good, like it never worked out. But there are many times where I found myself getting in trouble. And I talked about this before, but there were 6 kids in my house, 6. And so when my dad would buy groceries and stuff, we couldn't just go in the house and eat what we wanted to eat. We had to ask. And if you ain't ask and you start eating stuff, you're going to get in trouble. But many times I found myself going up on top of that microwave, right? Eating those Hostess snacks, going up in that pantry, right? Opening those box of cereals, right? And you know, I don't know about in your house, but in my house, you can only open one box of cereal at a time, right? You can't be opening up 5, 4, 6, 7 boxes of cereal and try to eat all the cereals together. Mm-mm. Mm-mm. One box is one box of cereal, right? Your mama hear all the snacks in her room. That makes sense. And then guess what we would do? We would go up in our parents' room and find them snacks. I'm sure y'all did the same thing, right? And so the thing is, you know, as I was growing up, I found myself many times like stealing, you know, stealing the goodies and like eating it. And then my dad or my mom like, who ate all the chips? Who ate all it? And I'm like, you know, I would definitely blame one of our brothers and sisters and kind of swivel out of that. You know what I mean? But then I remember, and I talked about this before too, my mama left a cigarette in her ashtray and I took a puff, right? So there are so many little things that I was doing that, you know, that was just piling up in my heart as sin. And as things that I remembered that I had done that was bad. And even things that I didn't even remember that I did was bad. In fact, even if I hadn't done anything at all, I would still feel like I'm bad. Because inside of me, only thing I felt was that I was innately just wrong. And like, no matter how much I tried to get right with God, it never was going to work. And so even though here I am, a 4.0 student on the robotics team, newspaper editor, drill team, top of my high school class in Detroit, you know, going to the top school in Detroit, and in the marching band, you know, marching band president, I'm the trumpet section leader. I'm doing all these good things in Detroit. I'm also a teaching assistant at my university, but I couldn't control my desires. I couldn't control my desires. And that was the thing. That was the secret thing. You know what I'm talking about? That was the secret that was pulling me into like a totally different direction that I didn't want to go into, that I couldn't control my desires. And that thing just like made me feel so condemned and like just made me feel so horrible. And there were so many times when I went to my friends and I'm like, guys, we got to change. They would literally laugh in my face and say, you go ahead and do that. And I would try for like a week or two. And then before you know it, I'm doing the same thing that I was doing before. And that is the thing that you call crazy. You keep doing the same thing expecting a different result. You know you're not gonna change, Derrell. So just give it up. Basically, when I went to college, like when I went to university, I just remember spending so many sleepless nights crying and asking God to forgive me when I was in middle school and in high school. So when I was in college, I was like, you know what? God, it's your fault I'm like this. I got these desires because of you. So I'm just gonna do what I want to do. You made me this way. Shoot, God made me this way. So I'm just do what I want to do. So then that was my mindset. So then I started just doing whatever I wanted to do. But then the thing that just tripped me up is when I started doing what I want to do, there are all these other things that presented themselves to me. So, I was embarrassed to talk about this yesterday and I'm going to bring it up again today. Okay. So I remember I had just finished my schoolwork and then my friend was like, Derrell, let's go hang out. And I can't remember exactly what he said, but only thing I know is we went into the car and we started smoking marijuana. I mean, I know it ain't marijuana, it's called marijuana, but we were smoking the Mary J, right? And then so that's the thing, like as I thought it was just something that was going to be recreational, but it turned into something else. And I was smoking like every day. And then after a year, I started to like, as I was spending time with my friends, little by little, I started to get to know my friends a little bit better than I knew them before. Because when we grew up together, but we were just basically we just kind of knew each other because of our math program that we were all in, but I didn't really know them. But when you start living with people, like living on campus, and you start talking to people more, then you start getting to know people. And then as we were talking, at first it was just like, bantering and like you're not really like talking about anything serious. But I remember one night, one of my friends put on a video from YouTube, and the video was talking about how every deity is the same. Jesus Christ and every other deity is no different. Christianity and all other religions is no different. In fact, every religion was made up by corrupt humans to control other humans. And guess what? I was just soaking it up because at that time I was a person who I barely believed Jesus myself. I barely believed God myself. So then, so then the thing is, as I was listening, I was like, wait, so you mean to tell me all the religions the same? You mean to tell me Jesus and everybody the same? And look, you have to understand, I was literally believing everything that I was listening to. And I was like blown away. It was like, it seems like everything that I believed my whole life came crumbling down. And it ain't like I believed much, but at least I believed that there was a God and I believed there was Jesus. But now I'm seeing, oh, in that video, they connected and they showed me how Jesus Christ is just like every other, like God, and like it's all the same. And I'm like, dude, my whole life I've been believing the wrong thing. So you mean to tell me there is no God, there is no Jesus, there's only the universe, and the universe created everything. And then I should serve the universe. Like I should be one with the universe. And that's the thing that I was learning as I was watching that video. And then I realized that that video was like changing my mindset. And I wasn't trying to like get my mind changed, but because I was, smoking, and and I didn't really believe God that much anyway. So my opinion about God and my position on God was able like changed very easily. And that's something that I think, it's not really my focus of my lecture, but that's something that I feel like a lot of college students or university students or young people that's just growing up, even if they don't go to college or university, go get a job. But when you go out into the real world, you start to see there are many different options to things. and you don't have to believe the same thing that your parents believe, and then you don't have to hold on to the same values that your parents hold on to. And like you start to see there are other ways to do things because there are other people who are living around you and have different ideas and have different experiences. And even though I watched What Love Got to Do with It with Angela Bassett when she played Tina Turner, and she was like acting like she was Buddhist or whatever, but I didn't really think like Black people were Buddhists. It never crossed my mind. I mean, I've seen Black Muslims before, I've seen Black Christians, but I ain't never seen no Black Buddhists before. But my friend was basically Buddhist. And then some of my friends were just like on some new age stuff. So then when I was just hanging out with them, those things kind of became my things too. So then rather than saying God and Jesus, I started saying like the universe. Yes, the universe. Oh, today is such a wonderful day. You know, you whatever you need, you can just call it to you. You can, the law of attraction, you can attract it to you. Right? So I started believing all these things that everybody was saying, and then there's like all these other like ideas that, oh yeah, you can still be Christian but believe this too. The Bible don't say that. But because I didn't have the Bible knowledge, because I didn't have a community that I can go to, because I didn't have anybody behind me like reinforcing the ideas that I learned, I just was soaking up everything that I was just learning everything from everybody else rather than the place where I should have been learning it from. And that's why I value like Christian Youth Association so much, SIA, because we have a place where we can come and young people, college students, high school students can come and we can really discuss about Jesus Christ and God, and we can really ask those questions. I just left another program called You Feel Me, and where students, young students, high school and also college students were asking some questions about life, like, hey, why can't I start dating? You know what I mean? Or like, I'm having difficulty and I'm stressed out about work and these things, like, how can I overcome this? And as we have these discussions, we put God in the center of everything, and then all of the problems are able to be solved. And it's so amazing because not only did I didn't answer the questions mostly, but like we had a guest speaker who was answering the questions, but we didn't just leave it to that guest speaker to answer the questions. We also opened it for their peers, our peers within that room, to also give some advice to that person. And you realize that just speaking it out loud and talking with one another reinforces the faith that we have in our heart about God and about Jesus, and put our center back on God. But when I was in college, I didn't have that center. In fact, I was so far away from God. I was like, God, I'm through. So like my relationship with God was like my relationship with the universe. It wasn't God. It wasn't no Jesus. And so that led to me being open to other things, which were not of God. And even though I said I was Christian before, I wasn't Christian. That's the important thing I want to say. Even though I grew up in the Christian household, I can't really say I was really Christian because I wasn't saved. I didn't know anything about Jesus Christ. I knew Jesus Christ died on the cross for my sins, but I still say I'm a sinner. So I don't know how Jesus Christ died on the cross for my sin and I still got sin. That means Jesus Christ ain't do a good job. So then so I didn't know that very important thing. Like, you got to know that. That's like the basis of like salvation and the base of faith. If you don't have that, then you can't say that you're a Christian. But then that's the thing. I was saying that I was a Christian, but I was really living like a non-Christian. And so, in fact, the universe became my God, and I kind of became my own God. Basically, I'm just living and doing whatever I want to do and satisfying my desires and just doing whatever I want to do. And then it came to a point where, like, I thought I was so free. Like, my mind was like opening up and I was being enlightened. But in reality, I wasn't being enlightened. I was like, I went home to my mom. I'm like, Mom, you got to clear your mind. She was like, boy, what's going to be in your mind if you clear it? I was like, yeah, so you got to clear your mind. And she was like, boy, you better not be you better stop trying to not think about stuff. Like, everyone, in a nutshell, the way that my life was going was like a really terrible direction. And I thought I was on the path to enlightenment, but in fact, especially at nighttime, I don't know why, it was always night when stuff just go down. And I mean, all the bad stuff happened at nighttime. Like, I got in all the fights with the friends. I stopped my car on the freeway. I did all this terrible stuff, went out drinking, hanging out, smoking, all this stuff, going to the parties at the, my friend's house. And I just found that, while I was, doing all these things, it's not like I'm like happy and like bright, like, oh yeah, everything's good. During the day, I'm like that. But at night, it's like, you like doing your thing. You know what I mean? You kind of, you know, it's like totally different, like persona. And so I literally thought I was crazy. I'm like, dude, like, who are you? What's in you? What's inside of you? There's something else that's coming out like at nighttime. So it's like, is something turning on and off? Like, what's going on? So I remember just like one time I was just in my apartment, and after I was kind of just like the whole day was over and I was just sitting on my sofa in the living room looking at the TV, and it was like I was watching SpongeBob eating some hot Cheetos. And I'm like, dude, I'm sad. Like, this is a sad life. And I just felt so alone. And I felt like nobody was there, like to be by my side. And Satan always makes you feel like that. Oh, you're alone. You don't have anybody. Mm-mm. That's a lie. If Satan is telling you that, you got to tell him, that's a lie. I do got a whole lot of people love me. And that is the truth. But the thing is, I wasn't able to see that. And so I just kept falling into those kind of thoughts. And my life just started to become worse and worse and worse. And so at the point where I thought everything was literally just going to be over, like, okay, well, this is over. Like, it's not going to work. I'm going to end up like, I put myself in danger. I stopped my car on the freeway. I told you that. I jumped out of a car, right? And I got in a fight with my friend, and it involved the iron and bleach. I'm just saying, I don't know what happened. I can't even remember what happened, but it just involved iron and bleach. And I don't know what happened, but it was a fight. And those are only two things that I remember. It's iron, bleach, and probably a hole in the wall, like a hole in the door. So just all these crazy things was just happening. And I didn't have a handle on things. And then it seems like I was going to die. And the reason why I felt like that is because I didn't had all these like near death experiences where I keep putting myself in harm's way. I keep putting myself in danger. And before you know it, before I knew it, I could have been in a place where I really could have been in the street because I stopped my car on the freeway. That could have been the time that I died. I jumped out of a car. That could have been the time that I died. So I kind of felt like if I keep going on this path, my path is death. And then at that time, I was like, okay, so if I die, am I going to keep being like sad and like frustrated and like so like I can't even express it. Like, am I going to continue to be like living, even though I'm dead? Am I going to continue to have the same kind of mindset that's tormented? That's the word. Am I going to continue to be tormented? And then at that time, I started thinking about God. Oh, there is like a hell. And if it's worse than how I'm feeling right now, like, how can I spend eternity like that? Oh, no, I don't want to go to hell. And so then I started to think like this. So there's Jesus Christ. If I want to break out of what I'm in right now, I got to get to know Jesus Christ. But where Jesus Christ at? I can't see him. So then I was walking downtown Detroit and somebody handed me a flyer, and I ended up reading the flyer, and it was talking about how somebody received peace in their heart through Jesus Christ. And then I went to that place that was on the flyer. It was a Bible seminar. And at that time, I received assurance of salvation. I became born again. because there was this word that I listened to in Romans chapter 4, verse 5. It says, "But to him that does not work, but believes on him that justifies the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness." And at that time, I believed the word, and then the word changed my life exponentially. From that time, the word entered into my heart, and then I was so happy. I wanted to preach this to everybody. Jesus already washed away our sin. He says, don't work for it. Just believe in him. And that faith makes you righteous. I wanted to tell everybody. I literally went to my parents like, Ma, I want to go to Africa and like go preach the gospel. And they was like, boy, are you crazy? You better finish school first. You ain't going to no Africa. So I was like begging, like, please, I want to do short-term missionary, just like 1 year in like Africa. And they're like, boy, you ain't, nope. And they said no, because none of my siblings finished college. So they were like, if I go out of college for 1 year, I'm not going to finish. That's what they thought. So they were like, you just got 1 more year, finish that up. So I ended up not going to Africa as a short-term missionary, but I really wanted to just preach the gospel to the whole world at that time when I received it in my heart. And then I remember in 2012 was the time when I got my first passport. I got my passport, and when I got my passport, the first country that I went to was Haiti. And it was really, really awesome. I went to Haiti, and I remember going to Haiti, and the experience was really good. I went to Haiti. I shared the gospel with students all in another country. And it was something that I never thought that I could have the opportunity to do, even though like I always wanted to travel, but I never imagined that I would do it. But I did. And I was there, and I was teaching English, and I was teaching dance, and I was also preaching the gospel. And it was such a fun time. I remember it like it was yesterday. It was so good. And I went to Haiti, and then I ended up doing some other mission trips, and then I went back to Haiti. And these are police cadets. It's about 500 of them. And I preached the gospel together with the missionaries in Haiti, and I danced, and they did my lecture, and I just remember being so good, and it was so awesome, and I was so thankful that I had the opportunity. And then I went to Benin. I went to 5 countries, like 4 or 5 countries in Africa. I think 4 countries. I went to Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, and Ghana. And then I went to South America, where I went to, I think it was Brazil, and then Argentina, Chile, and a couple of other places. I forget the other places. Paraguay and Uruguay. Yeah. And it was really, really, really amazing. So everyone, like, the only way that I could see my life when I looked at myself, I was like, it was not like me that I was looking at. I was in this place, caught in this very like dark place. Even though I thought the chains were broken, I thought like I was okay. But in reality, there was something in me that wasn't me. And this is a big problem. So how could I get out of this? I had to connect to the power of Jesus. When I connected to the power of Jesus, then all of these other things were possible. But then the amazing thing is, everyone, as I was living, this new life of like traveling and preaching the gospel, I have a group of students that I work with in the summertime, and I work with them for dance. And I had been doing that work since I think 2014. And every summer we get together and we work hard for like 2 months, and then we perform at the IOF World Camp. And it's like a week-long program, and it would just end. And then I wouldn't see them again until like December. And I was like, it's so sad. Like, we put all of this time and energy into dancing, and then we get together shortly in December. It's like literally like 4 or 5 days in December. And I felt like I kind of miss my students, and I kind of miss like that camaraderie and like making dances together and doing a lot of fun stuff together. So I went to president of CLF, Pastor Youngle Park, and I asked him, I said, Pastor, think about getting together some of our dance team members. It's about 30 of us in the springtime, and then train and dance, do like a little workshop, and then we dance, we make some dances a little bit early, and then bring them back in the summertime. And he was like, you know what? I think it's a good idea, but let's not only just do our students, but let's invite other church students as well. And then let's take them to Korea for the dance competition and the World Camp. And let's bring them to LA and then New York. And let's have a whole summer of like sharing the gospel with them and fellowship and dancing. And then when the summer is over, some of them can go to short-term missionary to another country. And I was like, that sounds amazing. But inside I was like, oh my God, I wasn't expecting it to be that big. Like I was just trying to get like 30 people together. Now he's saying like, he wanted to be as big as the World Camp. And I'm like, hold on, wait, that wasn't what I intended at all. But everyone, we were able to start the first IYF dance camp in New York. And it was really awesome. And we had a lot of students come and then they participated. These are our students. And we had some instructors come from Broadway Dance Center, Broadway, everyone, Broadway. We had a dance instructor come from New York City Ballet. A teacher came from So You Think You Can Dance. Like we had some really big teachers come and teach us and work with us. And it was just really, really great. And we took our students as they came and they danced and we shared the gospel with them. And then they just had a really, really great time dancing and like learning about the gospel. And it was really nice. And then after everything was finished, we took our students to South Korea and we entered a dance competition and we won the grand prize at the dance competition. And we performed in Korea and we had a really, really great time. And then when we came back, some of the students that came here, some of the students actually ended up going to another country as a short-term missionary. We had like 2 or 3 students go to South America and they became short-term missionaries. Now, the amazing thing is, when I look at this, last year, we couldn't do the dance camp in person. So we had to do the dance camp online. So this was a new task for us. But when we did the dance camp online, we actually had over 500 participants in the online dance camp. And the amazing thing was, like I said, we have teachers from Broadway Dance Center. We had teachers from Zumba. We had teachers from, New York City Ballet. And we had students from all across America, North America, Central and South America. And we gathered all these students and we danced. And then Pastor Terry Henderson came and he preached the gospel. And it was so good when I saw how God was working. Everyone, in my plan and my thoughts, I just was thinking, dance camp is something small. Like, I was just thinking, let's get together like 30 people and then like, let's just have our little dance thing and keep it small. And like the kids can go back to their, hometowns after like a couple of weeks. But then Pastor Youngle Park said, let's make this into something big as World Camp. And then we, 2 years ago, we took 100 students to South Korea and we made 3 dance teams. We made 3 dance teams with 100 students. And then we performed in the competition with 3 dance teams. And then we made a huge grand dance with 100 students on the stage in front of, I think, 70,000 people in Korea. It was really big. It was really amazing. So when I think about it, everyone, spiritual life and living spiritual life is not in the same way that, we receive salvation. Jesus Christ have to do everything. And I think the most important thing that we can give our youth is Jesus Christ and give them the gospel. If we want the youth to change, have them preach the gospel. Have them preach the gospel. If young people preach the gospel, if youth preach the gospel, then God can't help but to work exponentially, and we are going to turn this world upside down. We're going to have to look. I'm telling you, if kids, youth, and young adults, we preach the gospel, we're gonna break like YouTube. We're gonna break like Instagram, TikTok. We're gonna take it all over. Everything's gonna be taken over as we preach the gospel. All of these different platforms that youth have. But the problem is, we have to first solve the problem of knowing, for people who already receive salvation, people who already are born again, we have to know how precious this gospel is. It's so precious. And if we know how precious it is, then we can share it with everybody freely. We want to give it away. And for those people who haven't received salvation yet, haven't been born again yet, that's okay too. Because when they receive assurance of salvation, when they step into what God has given them, this amazing salvation, then when they share it with other people, God going to work through them as well. So the amazing thing is, like, we have power as young adults. As youth, we have power. And so we can go into all those like different platforms that older people don't know how to use, right? And then we can preach the gospel. But not only that, God has worked so much already. As I've been watching there's SIA USA, SIA West Coast, SIA Europe, SIA, like so many SIAs right now. And SIA, it stands for Christian Youth Association. And literally the world is just like turning upside down because the youth are all preaching the gospel. And I told you from the beginning, the lens that I see youth ministry through is through the lens of Jesus doing everything. So when it comes to me, I think the very first thing is, if we put the gospel first, then young adults, youth will change for sure. Amen. Amen, everyone. I know some people got their cameras off, but I want you to put amen in the chat box. I want to know you're with me. So I'm very thankful because, as we work and as we go forward with this gospel, God can't help but to work inside of the youth heart. Because if they have this gospel, then they go forward, they preach it, their heart's going to become more bright. And not only are our hearts going to become more bright, but the people who receive assurance of salvation through them, their heart's going to become bright. And it's not just one person who receives salvation. If that one person receives salvation, they're going to preach the gospel to their family. They're going to preach the gospel to the people next to them. And before you know it, all these people are going to receive salvation. So I want to look through the lens of like Jesus doing everything. So if Jesus comes into our heart, if we connect with Jesus Christ, if our young people connect with Jesus Christ, then he will do everything. The gospel is good by itself. And Jesus Christ does it and preaches the gospel through us, then who can't change? Everybody will change. Everybody will receive salvation. So what do we need to do? So there's a story that I was reminded of, and I just want to share. So let me just pull this up right quick. Okay, so I'm going to read a scripture, okay? So this is the scripture in Matthew, and then Matthew 26, verses 69 through 72. And it says, "Now Peter sat without in the palace, and a damsel came unto him, saying, Thou also wast with Jesus of Galilee. And then in verse 70 it says, but he denied before them all, saying, I know not what thou sayest. And then it goes on to say, and when he was gone out into the porch, another maid saw him and said unto them that were there, this fellow was also with Jesus of Nazareth. And again he denied with an oath, I do not know the man. And after a while came unto him they that stood by and said to Peter, surely thou also art one of them, for thy speech bewrayeth thee. Then began he to curse and to swear, saying, I know not the man. And immediately the cock crew. And Peter remembered the word of Jesus, which said unto him, before the cock crow, thou shalt deny me thrice. And he went out and wept bitterly. Everyone, so what I want to talk about here is Jesus told Peter that he would deny him 3 times. And Peter, trusting in himself, didn't believe what Jesus said. But then when the time came, he actually denied Jesus Christ exactly like Jesus Christ said he would, right? And then when he realized what he did, he felt so condemned. He felt so bad. Why? Because it's not that he denied Jesus Christ. That's why he is only sad. But you have to think about this in a like real life situation. What Peter did was actually give Jesus up. Jesus Christ was being taken away, and Peter didn't do anything about it. He said that he would die with Jesus, but he wasn't really willing to die with Jesus. He gave Jesus up. He just let Jesus go by himself. He's supposed to be Jesus' disciple, not really his brother, but like kind of brother. You know, they're really close. And then a friend. So he betrayed Jesus. He denied Jesus. He betrayed Jesus. That's what he did. And so he had this heart of condemnation, deep condemnation. And his heart was like totally separated from Jesus. It's like, no, I've done this. It's my fault. And he felt like everything was his fault and he just wanted to die. He couldn't believe that he did it. He felt so horrible. And he must have thought many things. Oh, how could I deny Jesus? How could I just leave him? I followed him this far and then I just left him like this. Right? But then everybody, I want to look in at another scripture here. This is in John 21, starting from 15. John chapter 21, starting from 15, it says, so when they had dined, Jesus said to Peter, now Jesus is meeting Peter and the other fishermen again at Galilee. So when they had dined, Jesus said to Simon Peter, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me more than these? He saith unto him, yes, Lord. Yeah, Lord. Thou knowest that I love thee. And he said unto him, feed my lambs. He saith unto him again the second time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? He said unto him, yea, Lord, thou knowest that I love thee. He saith unto him, feed my sheep. And then in 17, he saith unto him the third time, Simon, son of Jonas, lovest thou me? Peter was grieved because he had said unto him the third time, lovest thou me? And he said unto him, Lord, thou knowest all things. Thou knowest that I love thee. Jesus saith unto him, feed my sheep. Everyone, when I look at this story, it's so amazing. Jesus and Peter's heart is totally different. Totally different. Everyone, what kind of heart does Peter have at this time? Does Peter have this heart of like joy and like happiness and like, oh, I'm back with Jesus? Or does he have this heart of like condemnation, sadness, right? Fear, confusion? What kind of heart does Peter have at this time? I know you all are, yep. I know you all are, some people are busy. Can you just write in the chat box if you can? I see sad, disappointment, right? So that's right. Jesus and Peter's heart was totally different. What kind of heart do you think Jesus had at this time? What kind of heart do you think Jesus had at this time? Compassion. That's a really great word. Love. I love it. Yes. Here is Jesus Christ extending his love to Peter again and rekindling the love that Peter actually has for Jesus inside of his heart. Everyone, Peter thought it was all over. Peter thought he didn't love Jesus anymore. He thought he betrayed Jesus and that he didn't love Jesus. And that is the heart that Satan continually twists inside of our youth every single day. Come on, you can't share the gospel with your friends. You don't love Jesus that much. What are your friends going to think? Come on, you don't love Jesus that much. You can't be that spiritual. Don't try to be spiritual like everybody else. Like, come on, like, that's not you. You're not spiritual. You're not that kind of person. Oh, if I share the gospel with my friends, what are they going to think about me? But everyone, if Jesus Christ enters their heart, Jesus Christ is going to rekindle that love that they have for Jesus. Jesus is going to work exponentially through them. Oh, but Derrell, I have darkness in my heart. How, it's not going to work for me, not for me. Everyone, what kind of lens do I look at the youth ministry development through? Jesus doing everything. So if we put Jesus in their heart, if you have Jesus in your heart, if the word of God comes into your heart in the same way that Jesus Christ entered the temple and turned everything over, he's going to enter into your heart and turn everything over. He's going to kick out all of the darkness. He's going to kick out all of the problems that you have. That's what Jesus does. And then he's going to rekindle that love that we have for him. Amen, everyone. If Jesus Christ comes into our young people's heart, he's going to work so powerfully, and we're going to break the internet. We use our phones a lot. Young people, we use the internet more than anybody. We're going to break the internet. God is going to work exponentially. And so I'm so thankful that God has given us this time to actually share about youth development. And I can see that God is working already so much in our young people. And I want to extend to you an invitation to participate, your youth, in our SIA program. We have the SIA Heart Upgrade Program tomorrow and also Friday, 4:30 p.m. 4:30 p.m. You can visit sia-usa.org to have them register, and registration is absolutely free. They can register there, and then they can also get involved with our Thursday nights with SIA program that we have, where we actually have like a Bible study. And so I kind of feel like it's very important to put the focus on Jesus Christ again, and not on anything else, but we want to get back to the word of God. We want to get back to Jesus. And if Jesus Christ is put in our hearts and we have a platform and a place where we can have discussion and we can talk about things, and then we can really like solve the problems that are coming up in our hearts, then there's no reason why God will not work. There's no reason why he cannot work. He will work exponentially through Jesus Christ. So I want to invite you all to participate also tonight. We're going to continue with the conference. conference a little bit later today, and then invite the young people to come there too and listen to Pastor Oaksley Park. It's going to be really good. So I'm so thankful that CLF has given me this opportunity to speak. And I would just want to thank all of you for coming and hanging out and having this and sharing this time together. And I want to thank the translators for sticking it out, being here with me, translating. I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much. I'm going to leave this time for Q&A. So if there's anybody who have questions, you can ask questions. We've done dance camp, which is amazing. We've done dance camp in 5 countries in no, 6 countries in South America. And we also did dance camp in English / dance camp in Korea. And then we've had the dance camp in Thailand. And I heard we also had the dance camp in, I wasn't able to go, but in Israel as well. So the dance camp has become very popular, and we have actually traveled to South America to do dance camps. So that has become an annual kind of thing for us, but we weren't able to go this year. Normally we go in March, February, but we weren't able to go because of the pandemic. But yeah, I would love to travel the world and dance and do more dance ministry and have the opportunity to also share the gospel as well. So I would really love that. That'd be great. I would really love that. So great question. Okay, everyone. Thank you so much. God bless you and have a good evening. I hope to see you at Pastor Oaksley Park's sermon later, and I'll see you later. God bless you. Bye, everyone.